Well, hello, DCO Nation. Welcome back to another DCO Live. A good Thursday night to you, gentlemen. Henrik Veit, good to see you, small craft anglers in the house. Dean, good to see you guys tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. It is close to Christmas time. I have been doing. Heath, my man, is on. How you doing, buddy? Um, yeah, I have been busy this week. I have been trying to finish up some Christmas shopping, and I think we are finally done. And so we've been just kind of moving and working and trying to get all of that stuff. I'm actually not going to be in town. I'm actually going to be going to Manning, South Carolina next week. Be spending some time with my in-laws and Lefty's side of the family, and it's going to be really great. This will be the first time that her mom has had Christmas in quite a few years because they were always down in Florida and we could never get everybody together at the same time. With them being in South Carolina and kind of in the middle of all of the family, we were able to get everybody together and meet up at Manning for the week. So that's going to be really nice. I've kind of drug my feet on doing my video editing. So the latest video probably won't come out until early next week. I'm just behind with the holiday season, so there won't be one dropping on Saturday, but look for one probably like Monday or Tuesday. And then I'll probably have one right after Christmas. I think I'm going to do my top 10 catches of the year like I did last year. It was a little bit of a hit. Some of the guys really started to comment and saying, "Hey, I remember when you caught that fish. I remember the comments on that fish." So I think I'm going to do it again. I think it may be kind of an annual thing if I go back and kind of do, what I think the top 10 catches are. And I'm sure you guys can probably think of a few that will probably be on that list, but that's kind of what I am going to be doing. Everett, good to see you, bud. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I don't have a whole lot tonight. I really didn't want to. I just wanted to kind of go off the cuff tonight, but there is a couple of things that I do want to talk about that I thought about when I was at work today. One was these last couple of weeks, I have heard two stories of two separate gentlemen rolling and turning over their kayaks. And guys, kayak safety is absolutely imperative when we're out on the water, and especially during the winter time. With these colder waters, I had one gentleman who you guys know. I'm not going to give out any names or anything, but he actually ended up rolling into the water. His seat adjustment kind of collapsed on one side and kind of rolled him out. And another gentleman, when I was out on the water on, I think it was Tuesday of this week, he was in some deeper water on the other side of Weston Flats, and he ended up rolling his kayak. From the story that I heard back at the landing, I guess one of his rods fell out of the kayak somehow, and when he went to reach over for it, all of his weight went to one side and he ended up turning over his kayak. He was okay. Wet, obviously, cold. I think he lost a couple of rods, but guys, it's a serious game. It really is. These kayaks roll over. Make sure that you've got that safety equipment. The PFDs. Make sure you guys have got those life jackets on. And one of the things that I did mention was keeping a dry bag with some dry clothes up in like one of your front hatches. I know most of the guys have a big front hatch on their kayaks, and I keep dry clothes up there in case something would happen. Even if I would fall into 2 feet of water and my pants get soaking wet, in that 50-degree water or 40-degree water, and then the wind picks up and it gets cold and it's 40 degrees, hyperthermia is a real thing. I've had it up in the mountains hiking. I'm sure I've probably told that story before. And I had, my hyperthermia was um, was scary, and it is when you're out on that water and you roll these kayaks. To be able to get out of your wet clothes and into something dry is huge. It's a game changer for you, and just to be able to make it back to the landing. Comfortably and not having that wind even chill you even more in wet clothes is, guys, just, I carry it, and I carry it up in my front hatch. Anytime you guys want to come up and check me, pop that front hatch. I've got that big orange dry bag up in there, and it's got, a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, and another pair of dry pants in there. And yeah, so guys, just be safe out there, out on the water, and just make sure that you are taking all the precautions, because situations change within a second. I mean, an absolute second. Um, he said an emergency blanket is always good to have in your dry bag. Yeah, absolutely. Emergency blanket is great. I think you're talking about it almost looks like aluminum foil. They come in a little package. I think that's what you're talking about. Some people call them a space blanket, but those things are great. Yeah, I carry one when I'm hiking up in the mountains. It's a great lifesaver. It really is. So, guys, be careful out there. I wanted to bring that up because of the couple of rollovers that I've heard these last couple of weeks. So just be careful. The second thing that I really wanted to talk about is, the redfish have really been hitting, and it has been warm this week. The temperature has been up. It has been really nice and foggy. Man, has it been foggy. I went out on Tuesday, and I had to go out early because I had an appointment I needed to get to in the afternoon. So I really wanted to go out in the afternoon because that's when the bottom of the tide was going to be. But unfortunately, I couldn't make out the ideal time I wanted to go. So I went out first thing in the morning, and it was going into high tide. And man, you talk about fog. It was so foggy, I couldn't see probably 30 feet in front of me. It was almost claustrophobic. And I don't think it cleared up until 9:30, 10 o'clock, until it finally blew out of there. So, fog on the water, be careful out there, because these boats run around and they still buzz around. So, again, another safety tip. I stuck close to the grass in case I need to jump into it. But the water temperature has still been in the 50s, which is fantastic. But the redfish are still up shallow. And I want to show you guys some video that's going to be coming out. So let me share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. So one of the first things I want to point out, if you look in my graph right here on this line, this is showing about 1.5 feet of water. So you can see it's low tide. And right now, these fish are still pushed up really shallow. You can push back into these creeks. They are going to be belly crawling. And just make sure that you're, throwing something that's going to be on the bottom, because they are going to be rooting head down, looking for these little small grass shrimp or brown shrimp that are still back in these creeks. And I'm still seeing shrimp popping, coming out of these marshes and these creeks. So I push back into this one creek, and right over here, if you can see kind of center right, this is a drain off of a flat, and the flat was completely dry. On this day, the bottom of the tide, it was actually a negative tide. So there was, no water up on the flat. So I wanted to kind of go back and see what fish have pulled off of the flat. So, again, as I moved back into this area, I was moving from 1.5 feet to 1 foot of water to 10 inches where my drive was dragging the mud. This is all just pluff mud down here. I was throwing a little voodoo shrimp in gold color, and I had a red hit it. And again, I was trying to back out of that area because I didn't know how many fish were actually pulled off of that flat in this area. And if you look off to the left here, you can see how shallow it is. I mean, there's the mud right there. I'm in about 8 inches of water. I can't even pedal right now. But, these reds are still pushed up. They're still keyed up on shrimp. And let me see if I can give you guys a quick look at this fish. There we go. He ended up measuring, let me see, 23 and a half, so just over slot. But you can see he had that voodoo shrimp right there. And so, yeah, that was just some of the raw footage that I had that I wanted to kind of show you guys, that these reds are still pushed up shallow. So if you want to go back, push back up into these muddy creeks, because that's where they're at. And then as we get this colder weather, these fish are going to kind of fall out closer to some deeper water, maybe some deeper drop-offs into some main creeks. They may not go into the drop-offs, but they're going to pull closer to these drop-offs. At least that's what I'm seeing. If you guys are seeing anything different, please let me know. But that's kind of what I'm seeing. Also, one of the things that happened about a week before this is I caught a redfish, and it was just on the back end of the high tide. So tide was just starting to drop out. I was heading back towards the landing, and again, I was pitching a little voodoo shrimp, and right on a drop off on a ledge, I had put that shrimp right on the bottom, working it really slow, felt a small little tick, set the hook, and caught a black drum. Now, I haven't caught a black drum. I think I made the comment in the video, years and years. I just don't catch a black drum because they don't key in on artificials. Guys who catch a black drum are catching them with like cut mullet or dead shrimp on the bottom, things like that. But you can catch them on artificials, but it's few and far in between. And he put up a great fight. I thought it was a redfish because of the way that he was kind of digging and kind of staying down and pulling some drag. He didn't, obviously I didn't think I had a flounder because it's too late for the big flounder. So I thought I had a red. And then when he came up and rolled on the surface and it was that black drum, I was ecstatic. I loved it. I was shocked, and just love seeing that black drum again. I don't catch them. There are guys, again, the live bait guys, who go out and they find these deeper holes and where the black drum will sit. And yeah, when they call them big uglies, yeah, man, they are just an ugly fish. But then I cruised down the creek a little bit further, and about 5 minutes later, I came to a creek mouth. And the creek mouth had a drop off. And so it went from about 3 or 4 feet into the creek to about 8 feet down to a little drop off in a pool on the creek mouth. Hey, Russell, good to see you, buddy. So again, I was still throwing the shrimp, and when I threw it out there, I let it get to the bottom. I was kind of dragging it on the bottom and then maybe giving it a hop off the bottom, and then dragging him on the bottom and giving him a hop. I was dragging him on the bottom, and I could feel how rough the bottom was. So I knew that there was a lot of shell on the bottom. And that's when I felt a tick, and then he took it and ran with it. And at that point, I knew it was a redfish because of the way he swiped and ran with it. And that's what reds do. They use that big broom tail that they have, and they attack very, very quickly. They pick it up and they run. So yeah, so when he picked that up and ran with it, I knew I had a redfish. But the key to those two bites were, and the key to the bite of this one here that I just caught, was the bait was on the bottom. And that's one of the mistakes that guys do, or I have seen, is they don't let that bait or your lure get to the bottom, and that bait will cruise over the top of this redfish's head. Now, especially during the winter time, these redfish may be a little bit more lethargic. They won't come up to get something. So if you're targeting redfish, especially, now is the time to make sure that you are on the bottom. Make sure that you've got enough weight, 3/16, quarter. If you're in something like a foot, like the fish that I just caught here, an eighth of an ounce is fine, because it'll get to the bottom very, very quickly. And dragging it on the bottom is great. If it pluffs up some mud, like a little mud cloud, that almost looks like a shrimp trying to escape, or maybe a bait fish trying to escape off of the bottom, and that'll attract fish's attention. So, don't be afraid to hop that thing a little bit, drag it on the bottom, hop it, drag it, because they will come and slurp those things up. And again, downsizing for the winter is going to be a tactic you guys are going to want to do. Small slim swims are going to be great. That's a matter of fact, next week I'm going to be making a run and up to a tackle shop and picking up some slim swims in a couple different colors. And also Ned rigs. So like the TRDs or the TRD ticklers. I know a lot of guys use the TRDs. It just looks like a little 1 1/4, 1.75 or 2 inch little stick bait that's cut off, but they are redfish killers. The redfish think it's like maybe a marine worm or a small little shrimp, put it on a Ned rig or a mushroom head and get it onto the bottom and drag it, let it sit, drag it, maybe give it a hop, maybe a little bit of an action to it, and you will attract those redfish coming in. These are the tactics that I am going to be implementing come, the back end. Well, we're in the back end of December. So the back end of December and going into January and February. So again, I'm going to be slowing down and making sure that I am on the bottom. Trout, just like Steve said last week, and again, I want to thank Steve Morris for coming on and being a guest, and spilling out a lot of the knowledge that he knows. And if you guys happen to miss that episode, you can go over to Spotify and listen to it. Just search DCO Live or the DCO Lives on the YouTube channel, and go and check that one out. Steve knows his stuff. I plan on having him on probably once a quarter, every about 3 months when the seasons start changing, just to kind of pick his brain a little bit. I've got a couple more guests that I'm thinking about doing, here in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully those all pan out. I'm pretty excited about one that hopefully I can have maybe the 1st of January. But I digress. So going back towards trout, trout like a slow fall. So if you are going to be working these drop-offs into deeper holes or deeper ledges, make sure that you're away from the ledge and then cast up to the ledge and then work it down. That is when you want a lighter weight, because these trout like a slower fall. So MR17 or an MR27 mirror lure that maybe is a suspending bait or maybe has a little sink to it works great. Give it a couple of hard twitches and pause it, and a couple of hard twitches and pause it, and let that bait kind of settle and drift downward. And then also, if you would use an eighth of an ounce jig head in 8 feet of water and let that sink really slow through the profile, you'll pick up big trout. Now, I am not the best trout fisherman, so I digress back to Steve and his knowledge for that. Um, Trout just seem to elude me. I'm not a great trout fisherman when it comes to slams. Usually I pick them up by accident and it's like, hey, you got a trout. Hey, great, But, I'm not the best trout fisherman, but it's one of the things for 2025. It's on my goal. I want to catch a 23 or 24-inch trout, which for South Carolina is a very nice fish. So maybe I can target some of those this winter time and see if I can't get a PB trout. But Everett said he caught a black. See, my one and only black drum came on a paddle tail, and he was 16 and a half inches. Yeah, man, it's a nice fish, and got him on a paddle tail. Nice, nice. Yeah, mine came on a little voodoo shrimp. And so, yeah, like I said, the black drum, they'll hit an artificial, but it is not very often. Again, it's a unicorn. So usually when people target black drum, it's dead shrimp on the bottom, or maybe some piece of cut mullet or something like that. That's just soaking on the bottom, and those things will just come and suck that thing up. So guys, if you have any more questions or comments, throw them into the chat box. It's been about 20 minutes, but that's kind of what I wanted to kind of hit and talk about was keeping your bait on the bottom when you're targeting redfish. Don't swim those paddle tails through the water profile, the mid profile if you're targeting reds, especially during the summertime. Get those baits on the bottom. Use a little bit of, use a little bit of a heavier weight to make sure you're on the bottom. Drag it, work it a little slower, maybe give it a hop, drag it, give it a little bit of a hop. But if you're not feeling the bottom, then you're swimming that lure right over the top of those redfish, okay? And during the wintertime, they're going to be a little bit more lethargic. They're not going to want to burn a lot of calories to go up and get something. They're going to be on the bottom rooting, looking for whatever's buried in the mud, be it a marine worm or maybe a little bit of shrimp until they're gone, because those little grass shrimp or brown shrimp, they're not going to stick around much longer. They're still there. I am seeing them, so you can still throw a voodoo shrimp or a prawn star or something like that. But come January, they're going to be looking more towards these marine worms and maybe some mullet, because the mullet will still kind of be around. So throwing maybe a 3-inch paddle tail would be great. So yeah, guys, give those a try. Tyler, good to see you, buddy. He said, you are correct with black drum. I am one of those guys fishing shrimp on the bottom in deep holes. The black drum have been on fire the last few weeks. We pulled in about a 20-inch. We pulled in about 20 in 2 hours last weekend. So yeah, man, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Dean, this is good info. Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks, Dean. So yeah, so this is just stuff that I am seeing. Again, I had somebody left a comment. I usually don't give out the bad comments that I get, and yes, there are trolls out there, and yeah, I get beat up. When you're on a public platform and you're putting your opinion out there, everybody has their opinion. I get it, and I had a guy basically tell me, I didn't know what I was talking about, and I wasn't a good fisherman, and I miss a lot of fish, and you know what? I do. I miss a lot of fish. I'm not the best fisherman in the world at all. I love doing it. I am just a weekend warrior who goes out and fishes and straps a camera to his chest, and Heath, you can attest to this, man. We've gone out and we've been skunked where we couldn't find the fish, and it was like our first time out on the water. But that's fishing. That's what keeps me coming back is, trying to put the puzzle pieces together. You're not going to catch 20, 30, 40 fish every time you go out. You're just not going to. These guys out on Facebook that every time they have a post and they're holding up, three, four, five fish, that's not every time they go out. So, guys, just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. He was basically saying that, I didn't know what I was talking about. And that's fine, man. The things that I'm constantly evolving my fishing tactics and my techniques, and I think it's a great platform to be able to, talk to you guys and be able to have this community, and you guys can, give your feedback also, and so yeah, I'm starting to see a lot of Merry Christmases to everybody. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed the holidays. Um, I am not going to have a DCO live next week, but I am going to record one and put it up on Spotify. So, excuse me. I think it's going to be on some winter redfish tactics. Um, so if you guys want to catch that on Spotify, just pull up DCO Live, search DCO Live, and you guys will find that. So there won't be a live next week. The first live will be whatever that is in January. I don't know. I'll put out something on Instagram or Facebook, just kind of of a little bit of reminder. But, go over there on Spotify, check that out. If you're not following me, give me a follow. I think we got 6 or 8 guys following DCO Live right now. I've been getting quite a few plays. So it's nice to know that guys are actually, going and listening to these. Hopefully I'm going to get some better equipment and maybe some better external microphones so that you guys can hear me a little bit better if this stuff is going to be pushed out into the podcast world. So that would be fantastic. Hopefully Santa Claus is good to me. I have been on the nice list all year, despite what that one viewer thinks. I have been on the nice list. So um, he said, yeah, this is why we call it fishing. Yeah, I know, man. I know. Catching a fish is the bonus. I get it. Um, Steve, great to see you. I'm glad. I know you jumped in a little bit late, but he said, my boat will be finished up next week. I will be in touch. Hey, fantastic. Yeah, man. Love to go out with you. Love to pick your brain a little bit more because that's how I learn. That's how I get better. So, if I can catch, not keep my skunk days down to a minimum would be great. So, guys, I really appreciate you. Merry Christmas to everybody. 2025, I am looking forward to it. I'm already got a bunch of notes and stuff for, some goals that I want to try to meet for 2025. So, guys, Merry Christmas. I really do appreciate all you guys, especially, you know, um, my regulars who jump on week in and week out. Russell, you have been here week in and week out. I really do appreciate you. Steve, Dean, small craft angler. I know I'm missing some people. Heath, guys, I really do appreciate you. If I forgot you, sorry. But, thank you so much. I know I'm kind of dragging it out a little bit, but guys, Merry Christmas, be safe, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. I really do appreciate you. Merry Christmas.